All right. Okay, that's enough of that. That's enough of that. Oh, where'd my camera go? I just lost my camera. What happened here? Ah, there we go. Software. What can I say? It sucks. I work in the software industry. I deal with software bugs all the time. If only this shit worked right the first time, I probably wouldn't have a job. Anyway, cheers, y'all. Thought I'd do a little impromptu stream today. Kind of a slow week or so. I was on vacation last week and kind of decompressing over the weekend from the vacation a little bit and doing some other catch-up stuff too, right? But trying to think of what to do next here, and I realized I haven't done a live stream yet, and I think I was overdue for one. It's been a while since I've had one. I did one with Clay on a brew day a couple of weeks ago, spontaneously as well, but it's been kind of hard to find time to do any hobbies anymore. It feels like it's amazing. So I found a chance to do a live stream. I took it, and here I am. So let's see what we got here. USMC Mike, hey, how's it going? North Carolina, welcome back. Jim, Biracoy, Harold, welcome back, man. Matchmaker Challenge from Wisconsin, good to see you on. Sal Longo Bardo, welcome. Wayward Brewing, welcome. It's hard to pronounce all you guys' like code names and stuff. Jay and Saniac, welcome from Atlanta. All right, very good. Welcome. Ryan, welcome. So I don't know. I didn't have anything hard to talk about tonight. I don't know if I wanted to rant earlier, but when I decided to want to do a rant stream, I think I lost interest in doing the rant. So now I'm just here, kind of just hanging out with the rest of y'all, having a little bourbon here on the side. I don't have any beer in my house. I've been trying to lose weight this summer. Part of the reason why I haven't been doing a lot of brewing, because I'm trying not to have any beer around the house. But I still got plenty of whiskey here, so I kind of cheat the system of trying to lose weight with a little bit of the whiskey here, right? Anyway, it's a nice evening. It's cooling off. It was a hot day around here today. I figured by about this time of night here in Northern Illinois, it's starting to cool off a little bit. I hope. It's still a little hot, as you can probably see on my forehead. I got a couple fans going here. I have some fans. I got here. Let me see if this little gadget thing I bought works. What I want to do is show you. We'll see if this works. We'll see if this comes up. It should come up. Nope, wrong one. Hold on a minute. There we go. Ah, there. See, so there's me, right? And oh, what happened there? Oh, so I got my little tiny fan here blowing. I got my bigger box fan down here going, and I got the back door open so I can get some fresh air, and of course my garage door wide open, trying to get some breeze through here. So that's where I'm at, and that's what I'm trying to do, stay cool. And yeah, so aha. I hope you guys could have seen that. That's a little app I bought for my phone, so I can actually do those kind of little quick show and tells without having to rejigger the main camera and things. Been meaning to use it for a brew day since I got it, but I haven't really done a major brew day in a while. Probably due for that too. Oh, look at that. Pack Attack gives me $4.99. Thanks for the super chat, bro. Thumbs up. Thanks to you. Cheers. Really do appreciate the cash. It's those kind of things that allow me to pay for the app that I just showed you on my phone, and I bought a new mouse for doing video editing with all these little buttons and things on it that I can use for editing timelines and scrolling and things. About to buy a widescreen, ultra-wide curve monitor for editing too. I'm getting tired of always opening, collapsing little windows in my monitor trying to edit timelines and things. It wastes a lot of time to do as well. So every little bit I get from folks like you, thank you again, Pack Attack. It's a big help. It helps defray the cost of all of this equipment that I've been trying to improve over time, right? So thank you. Yeah, thank you. 102 in Sacramento. Oh yeah, it's not that hot. I think it was around closer to 90 today. But what really kills us, well, in a lot of places, but what kills us here is the humidity. as well as the heat. I mean, it was like 78 degrees yesterday, and I was still dripping sweat because it was just like there was no breeze and it was just 100% humidity. It was terrible. Let's see here. So, drink the beer instead of eating the food. Beer is always first from Dan. Yeah. Well, I've also kind of curtailed my food intake as well. So it's kind of been a double whammy trying to lose a few pounds. I think I lost 7 pounds in about a month and a half or two already, and that's even with cheating on the weekends. I mean, I haven't gone completely cold turkey on food and drink. I just greatly cut back as best I can here for a little bit. See, yes, yeah. So Lake Breeze Matchmaker. Are you by the Lake Michigan lake, or like a lake in inland somewhere? I think you're referring to Milwaukee, so I think you're talking about Lake Michigan. Yeah, that breeze can sure be a big help, man. Two Idiots Brewing, welcome from Ohio. Brett, what kind of whiskey am I drinking? Well, let me see here. I have a bottle of it right here. Let me see if I can get that up to the screen there. It's a Woodford Reserve Double Oaked. It's like one of my favorite bourbons. My favorite being Blanton's, which I have not been able to find anywhere for a few years. So I've been looking for alternatives, and Woodford Double Oaked is, I think, my number 2 at the moment. So I got a couple bottles of that actually around here. Rock Spider says, hi Larry, how are you? I love your show. I lost 5 kilograms. Yeah, kilograms, was that like 2.1 kilograms per pound? I think that's a little over 10 pounds. Congratulations. Let's see. But so you may have seen that I had posted recently a couple videos. One was again the live stream brew day with Clay over here when I was making that American lager with rice. I did that produced video last week for the cereal mashing of rice, and it's an interesting topic. Maybe I can go on about that a little bit here. So hobbies have all sorts of people who do things all sorts of ways. Different opinions, a lot of fact, a lot of fiction as well as to what is true and what's not true in anything, right? And I've been trying to, ever since I decided to make this rice adjunct beer, like about a year ago, I did one with corn adjunct too, right? But then I used flaked rice. This time I had to make my own rice or cook my own rice and do the whole gelatinization process. And I did it per the official how-tos of all the old home brewing books in school of articles that going back decades as to how it's supposed to be done right. But a lot of you, and I understand, I've seen a lot of this before I even made the video or the beer. A lot of people say you can shortcut the process, well, with flaked rice. But if you remember my video, I said I'm not doing flaked rice because of the cost. But you could also use instant rice or minute rice, or you can just cook rice like you would to eat it and dump it in. All these different suggestions. And I actually looked, prior to all of those great comments, I've already looked into all of that and was just about as confused as anyone could be on this topic because of the different facts, I guess opinions, is really what it ends up being about what is needed and what you get out of it. So I did even more research after I posted those videos because, I mean, it drives me nuts to know, well, why go through this whole long process if you can do it in a minute with minute rice, right? Well, from what I've been gathering so far, and I got some footnotes, I got some research articles, both scientific and anecdotal, and from forums as well as science journals alike about the whole gelatinization process of starches in general, real scientific, boring, reports and things, right? That go into real big detail, but I'm still not convinced that there's only one right way or there's any way. I think there's probably a best way and a least best way. I think from what I understand, all those different approaches do contribute something, right? But exactly how much and how well, I still am looking into. I'm kind of really curious here as to why I would have to spend all that time to hold rice at a certain gelatinization temperature range, which was like 154 to 172 degrees Fahrenheit, which was like 66 to 60 or 78 or whatever Celsius, right? But and then boil it after that. Well, from what I understand, that's the best way to get the best extraction of the starches that you can. From what I understand, I think rice has the most starches of any grain that you can get, actually about 80 or actually 90% mash efficiency, or efficiency getting those starches and sugars out of that rice if you do it in the ideal way. So I kind of wonder, and I suspect that maybe the way I was doing it is the right way for the best to get the most out of it, but I'm sure the other shortcut methods provide something as well to the mash, right? It's just a matter of to what degree, I think. And that's kind of think where I'm at right now in my research, because it's driving me nuts. It's like, well, if I can completely skip the gelatinization temperature and just go right to a boil, why am I doing it? I mean, you're not gelatinizing it. If you're boiling it, you're just rupturing the rice granules to expose the tightly bound starches that haven't had a chance to unwind from the gelatinization temperature steep, right? So anyway, so I kind of want to do an experiment a little bit along those lines. I kind of want to fool around with like a batch of minute rice, a batch of like raw grain, a batch of flaked rice, and kind of see what I can do to see, walk through those different lengthy and shortcut processes to see what kind of results I get, either from like the sugars extracted out of there, or maybe the final result of the beer. Some people say that the beer is clear if you do it the way I did it. Some people say, nah, it's not the case at all. So anyway, I'm still trying to evaluate what the hell's going on, because there's so much conflicting information out there about this that it's a head scratcher. So let me take a look at some of the comments here. Where did my, oh gee, pop out chat. Huh, interesting. I seem to have lost my comments here. They're possibly going down a different feed here. Okay. Everybody see the new Grandfather G40? I've seen it. I have not, I don't have one. I have that old G30, I think it's called, like the 5-gallon one. I still have it. I actually do use it for stuff. I actually use it for actually more for sous vide and other hot craft style tasks than I do for brewing. I haven't brewed on it in a while. Not because I don't like it, but because I'm trying to brew bigger batches to maximize my time spent on the hobby to get the most return on it. I haven't done a 5-gallon batch in a while. I've also got a bit of a problem with the pump clogging a lot, and it's just those kind of minor things, kind of annoying, but it's fine. I wouldn't mind trying it, but I don't have one. I have enough brew systems. In fact, I just took apart one and put it away. I took my old mash coolers, the old mash tun, the old hot liquor tank coolers. I kind of took the valves off, put the old ones back on, and put them back on my shelves up over here just to make room on my brewing wall back here for the systems I do have today. And I'm about to do a video coming up on what I'm doing for my home organization of my hobbies here. I've kind of, I call it, my working title's mobile. It's like home brewery on wheels, I guess, because that's effectively what I got. I got everything on carts and wheel carts and everything that just wheel out from the wall and ready to go, and it's making my life a lot easier than trying to lift everything and move it around and reassemble it in place and everything. It's I'm getting a little bit older. My back isn't appreciating the workout so much anymore. Let's see, is my kegerator still down? Yes, yes, it has. I have not checked the relay. I was planning on doing that yesterday, but everything else got in the way. I have a long list of crap I can't get to doing, but that was on my list, was to go back down there and work on that thing and see if I can get it working again. Because I took the board completely out. I got to put it back in and like try that thing. But yeah, it's not working. They told me I won't get parts until at least September, and they told me that back in March I wouldn't get them until May. So I'll ask in September. They'll probably say sorry after Christmas or something. So I'm not. In fact, I'm kind of done with kegerators. I was just trying to find alternatives for the time being. I was actually messing around with a old wine cooler I have in my basement that I have unplugged because my wife used to like white wines, so I put a wine cooler to keep them at the ideal temperature. Well, I found out that thing can cool all the way down to 39 degrees, not quite 38, not quite 37, right? But it's close enough that I could probably use it as a temporary kegerator down in my bar, maybe sort of just a fridge with a picnic tap. I'll see how that goes. It might buy me some time here, right? Some Bullet rye, yeah, very good. I had some rye yesterday, but not Bullet. It was I forgot what it was. So Dan says he just cooks the rice at mushy in the Instant Pot, 3 minutes, lets it cool, and throws it in. Yeah, see, that's kind of what I was saying. There's different ways of doing it, and why is, there's advocates for all, but no one really explains their position well as to what the results are from doing it that way. Have I done an overnight mash? Yeah, I've done that once, maybe twice years ago when I was trying to split my brew day into 2 days. I read one of those time-saving articles about doing the mash the night before and brew the next day. I did that one time, and it turns out that you get a little bit of a sour note in the morning and the next day in your beer, because the stuff's sitting there all night long, and it's starting to grow in it, right? So anyway, I haven't done it since. I just make sure I set up everything the day before, make sure everything's ready to go for the following day, set up my equipment maybe and stuff, but I don't actually do any mashing until the day of now. Let's see. Salvation Brewing says gelatinize is a funny word. Yes, it is. Yeah, it is. It's like, but that's part of the problem. It's like, according to all the science books, gelatinization occurs during a certain temperature range, right? It's kind of like cooking pork or brisket or ribs on my smoker. I'm very familiar with converting collagen into liquid gelatin between 154 and 172 degrees. That's exactly the same temperature that these grains like rice and corn and stuff are supposed to also gelatinize too. At that range, once you get above that range, the gelatinization stops. And from that point on, when those little grains of rice or whatever burst, you pretty much, they burst and expose what starch is there, but the starch hasn't been completely unwound and like converted or broken down. So it makes me wonder how efficient that is. I mean, how much of the rice is contributing to the beer really compared to what you could do if you did it in the more lengthy process. That's all. I'm just wondering that. I'd have to try that out, see what happens. Let's see, potatoes works too. I haven't tried potatoes. Oh, here's somebody, Adam, he's made 10-gallon batches of rice lager, or 10 batches of rice lager. You just cook it down in a rice cooker. See, this is what a lot of people do, and they say it turns out great. Okay, I mean, so you have to question, is this one of those old school wisdoms of words of old school brewing knowledge, like having to use secondary fermenters and stuff like that, right? All garbage, right? It's completely pointless. So it makes me wonder if that's the next thing on the chopping block of myth busting, is that whole long drawn out process. So, yeah. Let's see here. Let's see. Oh, C. Bowman says, "Hey, Army, I think you're talking to me." Well, I was once upon a time. It's been a long time. 97, I think, was when I got out. It's a long time ago. Uncle Ben's rice. Yeah. Let's see. Is there a good beer name in there somewhere? Yeah. Good evening, Rob. I think I saw some emails from you earlier today. I haven't had a chance to actually read them though. I saw them come in my inbox. Mash maker, wild rice mild. Definitely have to cook that before adding it to the mash. Oh, wild rice. Yeah, see, so now here's another wrinkle. There's different types of rice. Long grain, short grain, medium grain, aromatic, non-aromatic, right? And they all have different requirements for, I guess, length of cooking as well as gelatinization ranges. I think are a little different for short versus long from what I read. Again, no expert. I've only done one rice beer, and that's sitting right here in it's kegged up in the 2 5-gallon cornies right here in my little fridge here, carbonating right now. I put the gelatin fining in it last night, and hopefully it'll drop clear and be carbonated by next weekend, I'm hoping. Let's see here. Yeah, it's great for a hot summer. That's exactly why I'm making it, man. That's why I'm doing that lagers in the summertime. I used to do blonde ales. I used to do wit beers, Weiss beers, Hefeweizens, those kind of things. Now it's like I still want to do them, but now that I've been doing lagers, they actually are more of a hit. You know, more friends want to drink the lagers than they do want to drink the wheat beers, right? So I kind of keep the lagers around, and they're very refreshing too. And it's also kind of newer to me. I've only been doing lagers for, I don't know, for three or more years now. Prior to that, for all those years, I was doing ales. So it's kind of a new aspect of the hobby I'm finally enjoying. Yeah, what kind of whiskey am I drinking again? Oh, you must have just joined. I got some Woodford Reserve double oaked here. That's what I'm drinking at the moment. Let's see. Some hard kombucha. Yeah, I talked to someone who's made that before. It's an interesting idea, but I don't even like kombucha. So make it hard or not, I don't know. Maybe someday I can try that too, because trying new things with the hobbies, right? I mean, I've done things like mead. I've dabbled in mead for a while, and I was the only one drinking it. No one else wanted to drink it. They thought it tasted too weird, right? Because it wasn't, because it looked like wine or it looked like beer, but it didn't taste like neither, and that kind of threw people off, right? And I make wine when I can find time, and the grapes, or the wine kits if I can't find the grapes, but. Brewing, a beer, obviously, lagers more recently. Yeah, I mean, kombucha would be interesting, but don't know if I have the free time to pick up yet another thing to make, right? Yeah, lagers are doing great. Gelatin is powder time. Yeah, well, it's funny because I just emptied out my last thing of gelatin findings that I got from the homebrew store a while back. And I'm like, well, I might as well just go online and Amazon and order a big ass pound of it from. I think Knox has got an unflavored or whatever they call it, gelatin powder thing for per ounce. I buy these small quantities in the homebrew shop. You get overcharged, of course, right? You buy stuff in bulk online from like a health food store or something, right? Or just Amazon. Oh yeah, so what's my go-to wine? Hold on, I think you scrolled past some people here. Oats. Oh yeah, oats give beer more body for sure. That's why I like them in my stouts. Even the stouts don't need a whole lot of extra body, but it's a little creaminess. I like to put them. I think in any IPAs too. I think that's a good thing I've been doing. I haven't made one of those in a while either. I just realized now that I mentioned that. Question from Rob about my pizza game. It's another thing. I was planning on making pizza this past weekend here at home. Never did it. I just had too many other things going on to go out and shop and make the dough and shred the cheese and all that stuff. But I love pizzas on my grill. I wish I could do them more often. I used to make breads and stuff. I used to grow my own yeast starters. I actually threw that away in the past year or so. I just haven't had time for much of anything. I'm trying to make time. It's just can't seem to get a break. Let's see. Vegan alternatives to gelatin. Yes. Yes. And no. There's vegan alternatives to gelatin for use in thickening like soups and stews and things. There's things out there for that purpose. But for brewing, I don't know. If somebody knows, go ahead and punch it in the chat down there. But I don't know, honestly. So AWF 118, going on vacation with 3 other families in August, making a juicy IPA for the guys and a high IBV for the cider for the wives. Yes, ciders. That's another thing I started getting into was doing some ciders. I actually have done a number of cider kits, which is real convenient, right? But then about a year or more ago, I bought a fruit press that I can use to like crush my own apples and things. So considering apples are coming due probably in another month around here in this climate, it's probably about time to start looking for some apples. Maybe I can make a homemade cider that's from scratch for a change. So that would be cool. Mechanic Brewing says, how much gelatin per 5 gallons do I use? I see. Well, I think it was 1 gram per gallon. So for 10 gallons, 10 grams. But I ran out on this last batch, I only had about 8 grams, so it's close enough, right? 8 grams for my 10 gallons, but it's usually 1 gram per gallon. That might be on the higher side, because for a while I was using like a half a gram or some kind of ratio. I think it was smaller, but then I got intermittent results. Sometimes the stuff would clear well, sometimes it would clear only a little. So I put the 1 gram in there, and it seems to drop it pretty well. Well, you people are really chatting here. Homebrew here. Also love your cooking videos. Looking for a new grill smoker for the pool patio kitchen. It's the Kamado Joe. Still your favorite? Well, I have a whole backstory behind Kamado Joe. No, it's not. I had a little bit of a problem with them a few years ago with parts going bad. I had one of the, not the original Gen 1, like the original Kamado Joe from 2014 when it first came out, but I bought one in 2015, which was like it's basically the same exact grill, but with a few different enhancements. But what those earlier models both shared was a hinge assembly that would go bad. It was a poor design. I mean, the springs would lose their ability to resist the lid from falling down, and eventually the lid would just slam down because it didn't have a damper. It would just boom, and you can crush your fingers, fingers, elbows, whatever, utensils with just. I think I had a bent spatula one time, crushed the thing. So, but they only warranty their stuff for like 5 years. And then, well, guess what? I replaced it once under warranty. It took them like 9 months to get me one, and then it started going bad. And then now I'm out of warranty. So, and I don't even know if they even make them anymore, because they're on to like Gen 4 or something now. I don't think they even have any inventory of those old hinges. So, no, I'm not a fan of Kamado Joe. I think they use their customer base as guinea pigs and beta testers. And what's going on, doggies? What's going on, Bill?
Hello there.
I'm just doing a live stream.
Oh, hi guys.
Yeah, my neighbor just walked up with his dogs. Hey, man, want whiskey?
I want beer.
I just tell these guys, the only beer I have is the beer that's in my fridge fermenting right now, man.
All right.
Yeah, sorry, bud.
I'll be back in a week then.
Okay, in a week. Yeah, that's right. But so anyway, so because of that whole souring experience, I'm sure they're probably better now, I assume. But I kind of moved on to other brands. I'm using the Slow and Sear. The S&S grills, Kamado. That's my current favorite because it's just about the same size as the Joe, and they have better quality parts. So I haven't had a problem with it yet. Yeah. So let's see what I got here. New job's got you getting up at 3:30 a.m. Oh yeah. Well, I see now because I work from home a lot. I don't have to get up 3:30 unless I'm flying somewhere. That day, so that's good for me, right? But working from home full time, I think the company's kind of taking advantage of you in that way. Well, you don't have 2 hours of commuting every day. You can work 2 more hours. It's kind of their attitude, right? I think so. So it's got the downside to that too. Let's see. So Rock Spider says he made a rice lager and got assessed by the judges. They came back and said it was very one-dimensional. What can I add to add depth to this, or a little more cracker? Like, well, I don't know. I'm making my first rice lager for the first time right now. I don't even know if mine will turn out great. Tasted pretty good when I sampled it here, but we'll see. Now, if anyone's got any advice, one-dimensional, if they can give you something more descriptive as to why it's one-dimensional, was it all hops, or all bitter, or all, I don't know. What's one-dimensional about it, I guess, if you have more information. Let's see. The Matchmaker says, yeah, you haven't brewed in about 3 months. Yeah, it's been a while for me. I think I brewed back in March, and then I brewed 2 weeks ago. That was it, right? Yeah. Family events and more work. Yeah, you bet, man. That's been hard. I've kind of noticed this trend, like with us people, especially when we're doing the YouTube stuff of our hobbies, like for me with the beer and the food, hopefully more often soon, but it's like, it's hard enough to find time for your hobbies and your interests, but then if your secondary interest is to film it all and put it online, that's an extra layer of time and complexity and effort that kind of makes doing the first hobby harder to do. And therefore sometimes you're like, well, I don't have time to set up cameras and my equipment, and I don't have 8 hours. I only got 5 or something, right? Or 2 or whatever to do something. So, yeah, I totally understand that. But I noticed that the people who do this YouTube stuff, they go full bore at it for a few years, maybe 5 years. I'm sure that's probably about what I've seen it to be about 5 to 7 years. I see people go on a tear, putting out content regularly, and then it slows down, and then it stops. So I'm trying not to be that number, that statistic, I suppose. Let's see. Oh, you have a recommendation there for Biofine as a good vegan alternative. Okay, Biofine. Yeah, that's a clarifier too, because that's all what you're really doing with the gelatin is. Yeah, I mean it's a fining agent. Yeah, so there's others out there too. Of course, it's not vegan, but there's other natural methods for clearing beer besides gelatin. There's like egg yolk. Oh, I'm sorry, egg whites. Have you tried egg whites? I was amazed when I first heard this, but it's in some winemaking books I have, and sure enough, that's a centuries old trick. Is that you take the egg whites and you put them in the wine, and it does the same thing as the gelatin. It like bonds to anti-charged particles, whatever, and it pulls more stuff out of solution. Of course, that's not vegan, but it's just, yeah, there's others. Well, thanks for the tip there. Do I still need to sell my version of Woody? Well, I got Woody here somewhere. He's laying behind the shelf over here, but I still got my Kamado Joe because I sometimes need the extra grilling space when I'm doing large parties. Like I threw a barbecue back in May, an Armed Forces Day party, barbecue on Armed Forces Day, and I had lots of people here, lots of food. So I need the backup cookers. So I'm going to keep it around, but I don't use it unless I really have to. Any IPAs from Guy? Yes, I do. I made a couple of 2 or 3 videos on it over the past few years ago. Now I haven't made it in a while. I do like it, but it's got some drawbacks. Number one is time, though, because this beer is the best when it's fresh and ready to drink, and so you feel obliged to drink it all. Well, big problem, right? As soon as possible, because as the days and weeks go on, that flavor tapers off, and the aroma tapers off, and eventually it just defaults back to a sort of a pale ale kind of a flavor. And for all the money and effort of hops and the hop stands and all that trouble to go through it all, it's kind of a disappointment to have it change like that over time. So I kind of stopped making it, because unless I'm going to serve it at a party and have it consumed that same day, I don't feel like I want to make it so much. And then when you go out, and the bigger disappointment is that when you buy like commercially bought versions in stores, bottles, cans, whatever, I've never had one that was a good one. They've all been disappointments because they've all sat in the can for too long and they've lost their aromas and flavors, and they just taste like a regular kind of beer that you paid a lot more money for, in my opinion. But I've not made any lately. I would like to make it again because, like I said, I can't find it commercially to my satisfaction. I know making it yourself is a better way to do it. However, you gotta drink it relatively fast. So, yeah. Got a large big green egg for free a couple weeks ago. Oh, nice. $200 for replacement parts and you're up and running. Excellent. Yes. Welcome to the Kamado Club. If this is your first one, it's a great cooker. It can do anything. It can do everything all those other cookers that you have could combine. You have a pellet smoker, a charcoal grill. You have an oven, a pizza oven, or whatever. You can do all that stuff in that one gadget, and not have to clutter up your patio with multiple types of cookers and things. It's really very versatile cooker to use. Not just a big green egg, but any kind of Kamado is my point. Neighbor that had the police out. No, that was my other neighbor, Billy, who lives behind my house this way. He just is walking his dogs by my front garage, and just happened to want to come up and say hi and probably just have a beer, but didn't realize I was on the stream. So, Smoky Ribs Barbecue. Hey, what's up, Russ? How's it going, man? It's been a long time. Yeah, see you here. Yeah. Well, thanks for joining in. Nice to have you on, man. I caught part of that stream with you and Mike and, I'm sorry, the other fellow. I don't know who that is, up in Wisconsin. I didn't watch the whole, I don't watch 3-hour streams. I could barely even make them. but yeah, I mean, that looked like that you guys had a good time up there, man. I told Mike, invite me over next time. I mean, Wisconsin's just over the border for me. Well, thanks for coming. Let's see. Greetings from Georgia. How's the Better Than Bud American Lager doing? Well, it's in the refrigerator right here next to me. I got 2 5-gallon corny kegs that are carbonating and chilling right now. I've put the gelatin finding in them yesterday. They are subtly, hopefully clearing as I speak, carbonating as I speak, and it'll be ready to drink in probably 1 week, I'm hoping. I hope to do a video on that too, of course, right, for you guys. Let's see, a month out plus from, weather make Cal too hot. Yeah, so what's the benefit? Okay, what's the benefit? Okay, that Comic Awesome says, what's the benefit of small versus large batch brewing? The benefit, well, I could probably do just a 10-minute, 15-minute video on that alone. But basically, small batch for me is for experimentation, right? Or if you're in a or if you're going to cook on your stove and don't have a whole lot of equipment to do larger batches. But I think from what I do, I think small batches for more trying things without making a lot of it that you may not like. So if you're making a new beer style, in my opinion, I might do, well, for me, a small batch is now 5 gallons, but it used to be like 3 gallons, right? More large batch, it's economies of scale. You can actually make twice the amount of beer in the same amount of time, right? And have it for twice as long because you have twice as much beer. So you don't have to brew half as often, or you only brew half as often, right? So if you're pressed on time, that's why a large batch is good, right? Yeah. So you save time, and you get So the small batch, you save a little bit of time because it takes less time for all the water and everything to boil and cook and everything, right? And heat. But it's only a small little nudge more to go larger batch. And I think I went from that 5-gallon system to back in 2017 that I used all the way from going back to like 2008 or 9. And prior to that, I was doing extracts, but for like several years, I was just doing 5-gallon batches. And then finally I said, I can't brew every month and a half anymore. I have to make bigger batches. So I think that's probably about that same time as when I started to put on the weight, right? Because I was making more beer. I was drinking more of it. So, yeah. So you got a bit of a thing with a smoker for a Yoder pellet smoker. So that's one kind of smoker I don't have are the pellet smokers. I don't have one because I haven't had a need for one. But my brother-in-law just got one. I can't remember the brand now, but it's one of those big cabinet ones that are electric, of course. And then it looks like a fridge. The thing's huge, and you can put a buttload of meats in there. But that requires power, which I have power here. I can run power out to it, right? In a hopper for the pellets and stuff. I may try one someday, but I've got 4 grills on my patio now, and I'm trying to get rid of at least 1 or 2 to save space in my patio. So then I have to decide, well, what's going, right? So maybe, right? So the question, a point about getting back into brewing here from that Comic Awesome says he's trying the sous vide option. So that's what I did for like my small batch brewing, right? I had a sous vide stick that I had for doing sous vide, and I put it on a smaller pot on my stove. I used a grain bag. I think I did a 3-gallon batch. I did a video on that some few years ago now, I think. And that turned out great. It was a great way to brew. Unfortunately, I don't think sous vide scales up to larger batches because it's a small device on a 120 volt circuit, basically, right? And it can only do so much. Right, so that's why we have the 240 volt systems that I have back here now. That gets stuff going for, because I mean, I'll fill up a kettle to like 16, 17 gallons sometimes of water, and then you put all the grain and stuff, and it's just it's a lot, right? It's a lot to heat up. Let's see. Well, you guys got a lot of comments here. So, okay, Rob. Hey, take care, man. Take care. Good night. I'll tell Chatty said hey, and. Chris said, "Oh yeah, Chris said yes. You have a pit boss pellet grill. Yeah, you love it. I mean, and you can sear with it, and yeah, I mean, yeah, sure you can do that. But how hot can you sear? Because some of those pellet smokers, they claim to sear, but they only get about 500, 600 degrees tops, which is good for most things. I've got kind of spoiled with that slow and sear one that I have that has that slow and sear basket insert that is like right below the charcoal grate. And when that coals get raging hot and the steak is really within millimeters of all those hot coals, you get a really freaking hot sear there. Just from that direct contact. You know, it's probably nearly 1,000 degrees is my guess. But what I've also been doing instead of that, even more recently, is that I've been using cast iron again, because nothing gives a better sear than cast iron. So I don't know if you tried that. If you had have like a cast iron pan, I mean, I got a few of them around here already, under here and over here, that you can get that thing really hot to its searing temperature. Put your cast iron pan on there and get it searing hot, and that thing will give a nice even crust all the way across. So you don't even have to worry about the, you know, I got like marks here and it's gray here, but you know, it's all like, oh, it's nice and brown here, but gray over here, right? And what's my favorite all grain recipe? Oh man, Shane, you're asking questions I don't have answers to, because it keeps changing, right? I mean, I saw a survey someone posted, I think it was Instagram or somewhere, asking if you only had one, if I could only brew one type of beer, but you know, those kind of theoretical questions, what would it be? And knowing me, I'm a seasonal brewer. I change my preferences of beer styles by the weather, basically, right? So I'm like, well, what's one beer? I mean, I would love a lager for the summertime, but not so much for the wintertime. I'd love a stout for the wintertime, or a brown ale, but not so much for the summertime, right? Or IPA for the fall, and those kind of things. But so I was thinking about that really hard. I said, well, you know, if I had to make one beer year round and be happy with it, it would be a Vienna lager. Totally, Vienna lager, because not only is it a lager, so it's really kind of thirst quenching in the summer to a degree, largely, but it's also got a lot of flavor for like those colder months, right? You can really sit back and enjoy a good Vienna lager as well, right? So so if I had to guess, I would guess that. And I happen to have one posted somewhere on my channel or my website somewhere. I've done a few Vienna lagers on this channel. One was a live stream brew day, I believe. The other two, I think, were filmed, I believe. But anyway, yeah. Oh yeah, Chris, cast iron, man. That's the way to do it. Like so. So I got. Oh, hold on here. Trying not to make a lot of crashing sounds with my microphone next to my throat here. But so like here, I got a cast iron pan that's like a half moon that fits on my grill, on the hot side of the grill, because I'll have it in an indirect side too. So then, you know, so you get this thing really hot, put some oil in there to get it smoking, throw your steaks or burgers or whatever on there. They'll cook in their own juices, they'll sear up really good, and then you throw them onto the indirect side to let them finish coming up to your desired internal temperature. But that's what I would do. That's what I've been doing. It's been great. Let's see. Starter brew to get into all grain. Well, okay, starter brew. If you're going to be doing, oh, sorry, I'll get back to you in just a minute. I don't want to miss the earlier questions. I jumped ahead there. From Shane's, I guess. I don't know how to pronounce that. What do you use for a fermentation schedule for your lagers? Well, let's see. Fermentation schedule is no different than it is for my ales, because I used to do the traditional lagering with the refrigeration and all that stuff, and it was a hit and miss. And having to wait 2 months, 3 months sometimes to get your beer, I didn't like that, right? And then when I started doing pressure fermentation a few years ago, that's when I really went, aha, and so just as with this last beer I just did, this like rice lager thing, I went ahead and did what I normally do for my ales. I'll pitch the yeast at room temperature after the brew day's over and put it down in my cooler basement where it's in the upper 60s to low 70s, and I'll let it ferment out the whole 2 weeks just like I do for my ales. I don't change a thing. And the advantage of that warmer temperature under pressure, of course, is that it suppresses all those esters, right? Which is what you're doing with the cold fermentation normally, but it speeds it up because you're fermenting it warmer. So the fermentation, my fermentation was done in like 3.5 days, done. So I just been letting it sit for the past week and a half, right? But then since it's already at the warmer temperature, the diacetyl rest period that you want to go through for the yeast to absorb some of that bad flavors back into the yeast that the yeast produced earlier in the fermentation. That stuff takes place also. I don't have to raise or lower any temperatures. And then after the 2 weeks, or I could do it sooner, I suppose. I did one video where I did like an 11-day lager, I called it, and I did start to finish a lager in 11 days, and it was delicious. A little hazy still because I rushed the process, but within about another week or two of it sitting in the keg, it dropped completely clear. So that was awesome. And then I think I just scrolled past that last question. Darn it. Sorry, whoever asked that question. I was going to get to in a minute. I totally forgot what it was now. I can't scroll backwards. For some reason, my actual True Life chat is showing blank. I have no idea why, but now I'm looking at the same screen you are here to get comments. And if it scrolls by, it's gone. So I'm trying to keep up here. Sorry about that. Okay, Ryan Gate. Oh, man, $5. Thank you very much. Cheers, man. Salute. He says, I absolutely love cooking on a cast iron, but have trouble maintaining a non-stick coating, especially after searing a steak. Any tips? Well, yeah, I do, because I mean, a cast iron pan is never truly non-stick. It never will be. It's just a matter of less sticky than before, So if you get it well seasoned, you'll still need some oil or some fat or something on the thing, right? For starters, you need to put something down. So if you're searing a steak, I assume you're trying to turn it over and it's peeling off some of that crust and it's stuck to the pan. I get that with a smash burger sometimes, and you need to get under there with a very sharp-edged spatula, right? There's a couple spatulas I have here up on my wall that I use on my griddle, for example, that you can get up there and you just get under and you just work it, and you scrape it all up, and then you turn the whole thing over. If that's the problem you're having, that's what I would suggest doing, is go about that. Don't use tongs. Use a nice, really thin gauge spatula and get under there and turn it, but make sure also that you put some oil on there too. Vienna lagers and Kolsch beers are my favorite in the summer. I love Viennas, man. Dragon's Milk is still kicking some solid ass here in Georgia. So you brewed that. Excellent. Very good. And you're still drinking it? I mean, mine went pretty fast. I think I made that last November. I remember I had it ready for by Christmas time, or a little earlier maybe, or October, and ready for Thanksgiving. I don't remember. It was last fall. And it was so good. I was mad that I didn't make a 10-gallon batch. I mean, I did all that trouble in that Brew Day live stream, if you recall, where I was using the Brew Easy to make that beer, and struggling with the water restrictions of the capacity of the larger vessel to do a smaller batch, and I didn't have to. In hindsight, I should have made that whole big thing 10 gallons and drank the whole thing, because it was awesome. I'm definitely doing a 10-gallon this fall. I'm going to make some modifications. I might add some vanilla bean to it, and probably a little bit more bourbon. A little bit more bourbon. Let's see. Stouts are more forgiving for the... Oh, that was the question. Thanks, Mitchell. Forgiving first brews. Anything with lots of hops in it. You know why? Because that's like the mask to hide all the defects in your beer. Any kind of hoppy beer is an awesome first beer to make, because again, if you even get any kind of mild infection, you get any off flavors from under pitching your yeast, you have any from fermenting too hot or whatever, you can mask all of that by making it super hoppy. So just keep that in mind. Do an IPA or at least a strong pale ale. Stouts would be good too, because stouts with the roasted grains and stuff can also mask some of that, any off flavors that you may end up coming up with. But also, do you really want to mask your off flavors and not knowing that you're causing them, and then you brew the same way and you don't make corrections, and then you end up making like a more discernible beer that you do notice these things in for a party, because you're so confident in your brewing that you're going to make it for a bunch of people, and you find out then that you've not been maybe doing something exactly right. Right? So I don't know. But if you're looking to like mask defects, IPAs or stouts here. Okay, how hot do I want the cast iron pan? Oh man, I don't know. I have an instant read thermometer here somewhere that I can put on there at least 500 degrees. I mean, if it gets too hot, which is also why I have the half crescent moon cast iron pan, because then I can slide it off the coals, because I put the coals on one side of the grill, right? So if it does get too hot, I can move the pan over to the more indirect side and let it start cooling down. So that's how I kind of control the heat on there. So if it's getting really too hot, move it to the cooler side, let it cool, then put it back over the hot side again, whatever, right? Any advice on dry hopping? Oh, don't use, Perry says don't use olive oil. It's got a lower smoke point of only like 400 degrees or something, whereas like a corn oil, canola oil, vegetable oils are all about 500 degrees. So yeah, you probably don't want to use olive oil on a open flame like that. Probably don't want it to ignite, right? Okay, so any advice on dry hopping when using a fermented source all-rounder? Dry hopping under, so that's the problem, right? With pressure fermentation, because you think it's a perfect thing. Why not do it for every beer? Well, because I think you're kind of screwed on those plastic fermenters in your ability to do that, because I know what you're talking about. You pull the pressure thing, all that compressed gas comes out, so you get a big head up on top of the beer, and you lose all that carbonation that's already in the beer. So I chose to not bother with dry hopping when I make those kind of beers. That's just what I went with, because I only do pressure fermentation for lagers now. I don't even do them for ales, and you don't generally dry hop lagers unless you're doing something special. So, but right, I mean, usually the dry hops are usually in the IPAs and pale ales and things, right? So I kind of avoid it by not doing it at all anymore. I don't dry hop and pressure ferment. If I dry hop and not pressure ferment. But again, that would be an ale. That's kind of where I've kind of gone down those different paths of ale and lager. Ales, no pressure fermentation. Lagers, pressure fermentation. Ales, dry hop optional. Lagers, nah. That's kind of how I approach it. But if you have one of those more fancy conical or stainless steel ones, the Spike has got them, Blickman's got them, a bunch of SS Brewtech has all got them. You can actually buy those little airlocks now that you can attach to those tri-clamp ports, and then you can actually put the hops in, purge it out. Equalize the pressure somehow, and you drop them in like a chute. So if you have those kind of fermenters, then you have more options. But with the plastic ones, I don't think we do. Hops and Gnarly, $5. Hey man, appreciate it. I saw your video the other day about the interview with the fella from that campus. Is it out in Denver? I think it was. It's pretty interesting. I didn't watch the whole thing. I mean, I tried to catch first half and I skipped through some of it. Honestly, I can't sit and watch things that long anymore. I wish I could, but cool. Yeah, nice. Mash Maker Challenge, $20. Ooh, man. Well, hold on. Let me toast the Hops and Gnarly first. Very good, man. This is awesome. Now it's time for you, Mash Maker Challenge. Since you're not here drinking beer, or here's something to hold for your next bottle of bourbon, scotch, or whatever you enjoy. Thank you very much, sir, because this might not last much longer. So thank you so much. Much appreciated. That will go for almost half the cost of that bottle. Thank you very much. much appreciated. QH says, hate dry hopping, abysmal. Well, it's a mixed bag, right? Because it's I mean, I don't dry hop as much as I used to. only because I've kind of, partially because like I said, I don't make as many IPAs anymore. I've kind of gotten more towards the balance of the force. I don't want to go all hoppy all the time anymore, and I also don't want to go all malty all the time anymore. I'm trying to find that stride, you know, where the old-fashioned beers that we used to drink, well, I used to drink back in the 90s before the whole IPA craze came along. I was drinking amber ales, drinking brown ales, I was drinking golden ales and blonde ales, those kind of things, right? And those really don't benefit too much from like dry hopping, right? So I just don't do it much anymore, although I might get back into it again someday, just not right now. Let's see here. Some comments in a language I do not understand. Is that Russian or something? I can't tell. Something TV. Brewing with cannabis. Yes, hops and early. That's correct. That's that's right. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool topic. It's something that everyone should dabble with if they can at some point, and it's interesting. Interesting results that you can get from combining those ingredients. Let's see. Let's see. Dry hop by using magnets. Oh yeah, so that was another way to do it. Thanks, Jim and Brewing Bad. You can use food safe magnets to hold your hops. There's these sous vide. Well, you can shop for them. They sometimes call them sous vide magnets, but they're basically food safe magnets. And CH over at Home Brewing for Life is a big proponent of this. He talks about it all the time in his videos and live streams, but it's basically you put one of the magnets inside a hot bag that's been sanitized with the magnet, and you put it on your lid, on your bucket or whatever you're putting on your fermenter, and then the top magnet goes on top the lid, and it holds it up there, right? So when you snap your lid back on or clamp it down, you wait till it's time to dry hop, and you just pull the top magnet, and the bag drops into the beer, right? It's a great way to do it. Yeah, I mean, that's a good idea. Let's see. And then let's see what else we got here. Yeah, Yeast and the Beast says, the longer I've been brewing, the more I've been simplifying my process. Yep, exactly. I only dry hop when I'm making a YouTube video. Because it looks cool, I guess. I know. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's about simplifying things, right? I've done a lot of simplifying over the years. I went from a 3-vessel system down to basically 1.5 or 2 vessels, mostly in one system, kind of, they call them, right? Actually, it was actually from the 3-vessel systems and multiple fermenters down to an all-in-one or almost-in-one brew system. The almost-in-one being the grandfather, the all-in-one being like the Spike or the Brew Easy. The almost-in-one moniker because the grandfather still requires another vessel to add water into it, right? But yeah, that's great. It's a great way to go about it. And then so I went down to one fermenter. Well, I had lots of fermenters, but like one fermenter for the process. I got one brew system, one kettle, maybe in a mash basket or a kettle, or like the Brew Easy with the 2 kettles. It's the same idea, right? Real small footprint, much easier to clean up than multiple vessels, much easier to set up, and it's been great. I'm still looking for ways to simplify my process. I actually, this past winter, before my kegerator died, I was going to use this fridge out here as my fermentation chamber. So I would brew right here, and then I would put it all in this 13-gallon keg, and I'd roll the keg over on it, just wheel it over, and throw it right in here in the fridge and let it ferment at whatever temperature I want. I don't have to bring it in the house and down a flight of stairs and things like that, like I used to before. So I'm still pursuing that. Yeah, totally. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, hops have gotten expensive too. Yeah, they sure have. QH, have brewed a cannabis beer. You have, yes. So what'd you think of it? Hops are in the cannabis family. I don't know if that family's the right word, but yeah, it's like the same. Like in the plant kingdom, they're like related. They're cousins of some kind. Yeah, they're kind of very similar, which is why people think you can brew with it. But it's a different type of beer, that's for sure. Want to make a $20 brew costs like $43? Toss in a ton of Citra. Yep, you betcha. Yep. QH says, have you, I meant, brewed cannabis beer? Maybe. Yeah, I've done a few. I've done it before, more for the challenge and the being naughty aspect of it all. But now that cannabis is legal in Illinois, it's kind of like, oh, the whole mystique of it is kind of gone. But yeah. But it's something to try, right? I mean, it's like part of any hobby. You want to explore the boundaries of your hobby and maybe see how they overlap with other interests of yours and see what you can do, right? I mean, it's kind of like it's for me, it'd be like beer and like food pairings of my own beer and my own food, right? And trying to mix and match things, and kind of mixing interests together in a certain way to get certain results. You don't want you don't want it to taste bad, right? And basically what cannabis is like a weed. There's a lot of chlorophyll and plant material, I guess, in that stuff. So, like, you don't want to extract all of that in your beer, but if you can't extract that in your beer, how do you get the good stuff that's also in your beer? And that's kind of the challenge there. There's some things that you can try processing-wise to minimize the green flavor, but maximize the aroma and flavor of your flower, I guess, of the cannabis, right? So. But yeah, that's but you don't want to do that stuff on YouTube because that's how you get banned, from YouTube. Let's see here. Yeah. So anyway, it's probably, what time is it, guys? I didn't want to eat up all your time. It's only been an hour. Jeez. Do I ever alter my water profile? This is a question from Christine Chambers. To enhance a specific recipe? Yes, but I didn't always. I've only been doing that for a few, maybe 4 years or more now. Prior to that, I've been kind of blessed here in the Chicagoland area. We have Lake Michigan water flowing right to our houses, and it's really good water, very low in minerals. So really great for like lagers and pilsners and all those kind of lighter beers, just as is. And I used to make my heavier beers with it for years as well. I never noticed anything bad of it. They're all great beers, all delicious beers. But then you start messing with some of the chemistry of the water, especially that chloride sulfate ratio, to make it, to enhance bitterness or to enhance maltiness or whatever, right? And with a little bit of extra calcium, because we got very low calcium in my water, I have noticed an anecdotal taste difference between the two. And now that you mentioned that, I kind of want to go back now, but I kind of want to go back to try a recipe I made before, let's say, with no water alterations, and one with alterations, like side by side, basically. So everything's consistent for that brew day and fermentation, and see if I do notice taste difference, because I think I did, but who knows? It could be all in my head. It could be. Let's see. Prices have all gone up. Grains especially. Yeah. So I'm kind of, So it's like they always say like buy in bulk, right? Well, I mean, I buy my 2-row malt in bulk in like 50-pound sacks, and I put them in buckets when I get home to like keep them preserved when I open the bags. But what about all the other grains? I'm not buying a 50-pound sack of Vienna malt. I mean, I could, but then I kind of feel like I'm being obliged to be brewing a lot of Vienna lagers or other high Vienna malt beers, or other specialty grains, right? That you use smaller portions. I don't want to buy a big, because that stuff might go bad before I even get to it all. The same thing with hops. I mean, I bought a pound of Centennial hops on sale at my homebrew shop about a year or more ago. I still got a lot of it left because I've been brewing other beers that don't use Centennial hops. So I still go to the homebrew store and buy like 4 to 8 ounces of $3 or $4 per ounce hop. I mean, it just adds up like crazy, right? And it's like, man, I should really buy this in bulk, but what if I don't like the hops? Well, maybe next time I feel like doing another type of hops. It's kind of why I do the hobby, for trying stuff, right? Exploring. And so if you buy a lot of the same stuff, then I feel obliged to want to use that stuff, and it takes away of the fun of the hobby by being monotonous in a way if you're always brewing the same style of beers, because you have to use up all the grains that you got before they go bad. How do I increase maltiness with a With a water profile, well, I'm not a water chemistry expert, but generally there's this sulfide to chloride or chloride to sulfide ratio that if it's more of a 1-to-1, you get more of a balanced beer. If it's less than 1, it can promote bitterness. If it's higher than 1, it can enhance maltiness or perceived maltiness. So again, you're not actually making it maltier. It's just that the water has an effect on your tongue and your taste buds, and you kind of perceive things a little bit differently, right? So that's how they do it. But if you're trying to make, but the point is that if you're making a malty beer by design, and you have that low ratio where it enhances bitterness, you're not really, your water is fighting you on those taste or flavor characteristics, I think, right? So you want to make sure that your chloride ratio is above 1-to-1, right? Or if you're making a bitter beer, maybe you want that to be on the lower end of that ratio, below 1, to help accentuate that, right? Let's see. Do a water profile comparison video. Yeah. Thanks, Christine. Yeah, I should write that down before I forget, or maybe I'll write it down when I rewatch the stream later. Maybe. Let's see. Making more wine plans? Yes. Will I actually make any? I don't know. I'm going to try to do it this fall. My source of supply of grapes here in the Chicagoland area, I went belly up a few years ago, and I can't seem to find any other importers around here, and I suppose I have to order like mail direct or something for some place far away, but then you end up paying more for shipping costs than you would if the local joint would do it for me in bulk shipment and stuff like that. They would have a whole bunch for all their customers. Now I'm doing it a la carte, maybe direct through some distributor, and that's going to probably cost me more. But I mean, I'll try. I'd love to. My wife and I love the wine, and I used to make really good wine with like actual grapes. But it was when I don't use the actual grapes is where the quality starts to like deviate a little to the lower side, if you know what I mean. It's like, it's all drinkable. It's a good makes for good table wines. But am I going to like have some people over and say, you got to try this wine? No. I probably wouldn't do that. I might serve it to them for dinner. I'm not going to promote it. So for dry yeast, yes, I only use 1 packet for 5 gallons of dry yeast. That's plenty enough. I mean, some people would say that you need 2 for a lager. Like, the general rule is that you use twice as much yeast for lagers as you would for ales. But if you're doing pressure fermentation, no, because you're fermenting now at the same temperature as ales, and therefore the fermentation will be just as vigorous. So you don't really need to do double yeast for lagers. So just 1 packet of dry yeast for 5 gallons is more than enough. I put 2 in my 10-gallon batches. In fact, this last batch I split with 2 different yeasts. I put 1 yeast packet of the Saf Lager 3470 in 1 5-gallon corny. I'm sorry, 1 5-gallon fermenter, and I used the Y Yeast 2007 Pilsner yeast for the other one. So I get to do a little taste comparison to see how the yeast strains affect the flavor of the beer, which they do. I've done a couple of videos on yeast comparisons before, and it's very interesting that the beers taste so much different just because of the yeast strains that you think are somewhat similar. But maybe they're not in practice. Let's see. Got a tip here from, one of the more beer tricks is that they have a deal. If you buy 5 or 6 5-pounders, they give you a discount. I think it has to be the same grain though. I don't know. I don't order grains online. It's a personal choice. I prefer to support my local homebrew shops. Only because without them and on a brew day, I have nowhere to go in the last minute to get ingredients or something that I forgot in advance. So I support my local homebrew shops. I got 3 about equidistant from me that I can choose from. So I kind of try to do a rotation between them when possible to give them my business for ingredients. But I don't know. I know not everyone has got homebrewing shops by their house. So I guess I'm spoiled that I got 3, huh? How long in the fridge do grains last? Well, I don't keep mine in the fridge. I keep mine basically at basement temperatures, which again is like room temperature in my house, around up in the upper 60-degree Fahrenheit range. You just want to store them in a cool, dry place, airtight, hopefully. Refrigeration, I'm not sure, because sometimes refrigeration is actually detrimental to some things. Like, you don't put tomatoes in a fridge, right? It destroys their flavor. So I'm wondering, do grains lose some of their oomph if you refrigerate them? I'm just wondering. I don't know. Matchmaker says, sorry, I overshot the questionnaires here. So Jason Saniak, if your ale is over 160, yes. So that's something I didn't mention. I usually use 60 is a good rule of thumb. 65 is kind of what my threshold was, but it's just roughly the same. Is that if you have a high gravity beer, you need more yeast, obviously. And I used to do that with the yeast starters. I would use a liquid yeast and grow a starter. Because if you're going to use that much more yeast, I would probably go with a liquid yeast, because the point of having a dry yeast is that it's one packet, it's ready to go, you drop it in, and it lasts 2 years in the fridge. It keeps a long time. But if I think I'm going to have to ramp up and buy two dry yeast packets per 5-gallon batch, well, that adds up, especially if you're doing a 10-gallon batch. Now you're doing 4 like $6 or $7 packets of yeast to get out of hand, right? So in that situation, I would go buy the liquid yeast for $8 or whatever, and I would then build up a yeast starter to feed it all and go through the extra work. But that's just me. That's what I would do. Let's see. Do I need a special yeast strain for pressure fermentation? No. I mean, I started looking into this several years ago, and I saw that White Labs had a high pressure yeast strain, and I thought, oh, well, that's the one you have to use. I couldn't even get my hands on it. It was so hot. Apparently, everyone thought they had to use that same lager or something, because it was hard to get your hands on for a while. And so I went and started using any other yeast I could find, and said, well, let's roll the dice and see. And it's been fine. In fact, I've done a whole bunch of yeast strains, ales and lagers alike, without any ill effect, except for one time early on when I was trying to push the boundaries of pressure, and I let my pressure get up to about 20, somewhere in the low 20s psi. And when the beer was done, it finished at a higher gravity than I was expecting it to. It finished at, like, let's say, like 1.014 specific gravity instead of 1.008 or 9. And it was a much sweeter beer. It was still fine. I drank it. It was not bad. It's just I just made me wonder, like, I think I overstressed the yeast and it just pooped out. And I find out later, it's like, yeah, you really want it to be like 15 max, 10, maybe even for some people. I stick with 15, or between 10 and 15, 13, say 13. Matchmaker says he keeps his base grains in buckets with air-top lids. Yep. And the grains last up to 2 years, and he put specialty grains in food saver bags, and they last. Yep. So that's kind of what I do too. I did an old video a long time ago on what I do. I should do an updated one of what I do for the same. But yeah, it's just like buckets with the snap-on lids with the screw and the O-ring for like food storage that you screw down real nice and tight, airtight. I put my bulk grain in there loose. But then for those specialty grains where I have a pound or 3 or 5 here and there, I usually rebag them in like Ziploc bags. Try to squeeze as much air out of them as possible, and then put them in a bucket with the lid and keep them shut, because those plastic bags are permeable over time too, right? They'll eventually let air in anyway, right? So you don't want to depend upon that alone. So I put them inside the bucket and screw down the lid too. Not sure if that does anything better, but that's it makes me feel better at least. Yeah, gamma lids. That's what they're called, gamma lids. Do I have one here? I think I have one here. I don't know. It's dark back here somewhere, but that's the idea. So, all right. Well, you guys, hey, thanks for joining tonight. I didn't want to spend here all night because I know how it is to, like, come on, is he done yapping yet? But I think I'm done yapping. So I think we're good here. And my drink's about done. My ice is melted. I need to get more ice anyway. Although I got the whiskey, I'd like a little bit of ice to take the chill, to put some chill into it because it's kind of hot out here still. And and to enjoy it all. But anyway, everyone, thanks for joining. For those who wanted to know, there's 43 concurrent viewers, 44 concurrent viewers watching the stream. If you missed this stream or missed the beginning of it, you can always rewatch it after this is done. It'll be up there to be rewatched as a DVR type thing, like all the live streams are. So take care, everyone. Thank you all for the farewells. Yeah, thank you, and. Yeah, well, you're all welcome, man. I wish I could do these live streams more often. And you can see here, I'm kind of doing an impromptu one. I'm not even, like, I don't have my microphone hanging here. I don't have everything set up just right. I'm using a wireless lab and a single webcam here. So it seems to have worked okay, right? I mean, you guys can hear me fine. You don't hear a lot of crickets chirping, birds chirping, cars driving by, stuff like that, right? I hope. So it worked out pretty well. So, all right, guys. Hey, y'all take care. Hope to do this sooner than I did for the next time. So, all right. See y'all. There we go.